Zhang Yi replied. I know. Thank you for your reminder. I will pay attention. Liang then asked Zhang Yi. So what will you prepare to do next? On the other end of the line, Zhang Yi calmly replied. If they like to do useless things like that, then let them do it. Liang is on this side. I feel that Zhang Yi is quite an interesting person. While Liang listened, Zhang Yi continued to ask her. Oh, that's right. I want to ask you a question. Liang asked in bewilderment. Why do you ask this question? Do you want to come here to find me? Zhang Yi explains. Who can say in advance? But if given the chance, I need your help with something. Zhang Yi with a serious expression. Continuing to talk is closely related to whether or not you and your students can escape from there. Sometime later, Lang Fong launched the entire Taesun army, launching an attack on Zhang Yi's hiding base. The purpose is to create a distraction to start tunneling. All the people with superpowers, including Liang. They took turns using all their strength, attacked the wall of the hideout base. Outside the villa, loud noises continuously rang out. Boom! Win! Boom! Inside the house, Zhang Yi calmly watched the camera, observing these people destroying his house. Zhang Yi watched the camera while smiling. While Zhang Yi calmly watched the fighting, then he had Zhou Ku and Yang Mi massage him. Zhang Yi spoke up. Water. After that, Yang Mi gently handed the glass of water to Zhang Yi. She gently smiled. Hey! Zhang Yi's actions and calm state made the two girls Kanin and Xin. After seeing this, both girls blushed, one blushed, the other shy and worried. Suddenly, the first girl, Kanin, shyly spoke up. Those mutants are really powerful. Their attack power far exceeds that of many hot weapons. Perhaps hesitantly wondering, are all mutants that strong? Zhang Yi calmly explained Kanin's question. Those people are all the best people in the Taesun base's fighting force. It's not strange for them to have such abilities. Zhang Yi happily hugged Yang Mi and Zhou Ku with both arms, smiling happily and saying, You see, the outside world is so dangerous, and there are also powerful mutants. We can't go out casually from now on. Wouldn't it be nice to eat and drink here? Yang Mi turned to ask Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi, although we know their battle plan, we have no way to get out, so how can we know where they have dug the tunnel? Zhang Yi turned to look towards Xin. Shan, I'm here to explain to you, ladies. When she heard Zhang Yi say that, she smiled and replied, the speed of sound in solid objects is much faster than in air. The deeper they go underground, the more obvious the vibrations will be. She continued to cross her arms, her face showing understanding. All I need is a sound recording device, so I can use a computer to analyze how far they have built. This is just a small trick. Yang Mi, after listening to Xin's analysis, she turned to ask Zhang Yi, so does that mean we don't need to do anything now? Is our only duty to wait? Zhang Yi replied casually. That's right, we don't need to do anything. Because everything they do is just a useless waste of time. Zhang Yi cheerfully turned around and put her arm around Zhouku's shoulder, making her blush gently. We just need to rest and recuperate, then watch them waste their energy, time and lives. After a while, breaking rocks and breaking the snow, Lang Fong observed that everyone seemed to be tired. Many people were out of breath. Lang Fong immediately ordered everyone to stop. It's dark, let's go back to rest. With such poor visibility, there's no need to worry that Zhang Yi will detect anything unusual. On the other side, from the underground tunnel, some soldiers pulled a civilian to the surface. A guy had to lie on a stretcher in a dying state, the other doctor announced. He had an acute myocardial infarction, there was no way to save him. A villager from the east saw this and shouted angrily. What they did was clearly inhumane. They see all of us as cattle and horses. After that, in front of Tam Hone, he threw the snow shovel on the ground loudly angrily. I don't do it anymore. Tam Hone appeared quite calm. This guy is not angry at all. He reminded, you can't go against orders. All we do is to avenge you. Faced with the tired looks of these villagers, he continued to ask for help. At this point, if anyone dares to withdraw, it will be considered desertion. Liang found that the situation of the people being sent to dig tunnels did not seem good. She immediately found a secluded place, away from the Taesun soldiers, to contact Zhang Yi. Liang announced, according to current progress, it will take these people more than half a month to dig to the designated location. But I fear that by then, at least hundreds of villagers will have died. Just informed Zhang Yi of the situation. Liang turned to observe with a worried expression. Zhang Yi, aren't you going to take action? But you should be especially careful. Don't let this move get out of control. If we let this series of opportunities pass, there will never be another time. Inside the hidden base, Zhang Yi had thought of everything. Zhang Yi calmly calmed Liang's mind. Of course, I already have my plan. You don't have to worry about that. Zhang Yi wondered some questions. In recent days, I've noticed fewer and fewer people attacking the direction of the shelter. As far as I can see, there are only a few strangers left. Where have the others gone? Do they have other missions? Liang understood what Zhang Yi was worried about. She replied to reassure Zhang Yi, not so. Most of them are guarding the village. It is important that they maintain the law and order of the place, to prevent the townspeople from becoming riotous. Zhang Yi seemed to understand these things. Zhang Yi immediately replied, "So that's it? If so, then I understand." Zhang Yi, after disconnecting from Liang, Zhang Yi immediately leaned back on the sofa. He thought to himself, now, they think they can only wait to die in the shelter. At the same time, they continuously consumed the villagers' labor to dig tunnels to carry out their plans. Zhang Yi looked up at the ceiling and said, "I think it's time for these people to receive the shock of their lives." A few days later, when he was thoroughly prepared, Zhang Yi was preparing his outfit to proceed with the plan. Next to him is the cat Hoa Hoa. It seems like the quality of dried fish has gotten worse lately, so Hoa Hoa's expression doesn't look good. Today, Zhang Yi and Hoa Hoa raided the Taesun soldiers' guardhouse. Zhang Yi watched outside as he stepped off the ground. Zhang Yi turned around and looked back, thinking, the emergency exit was built far away on the hill behind Van Quyet Manor. Zhang Yi silently praised the person who built this place, and this place was disguised like that. What a thoughtful person. He opened a strange space. Zhang Yi pulled out a very cool-looking snowmobile. Right after that, he and Hoa Hoa took a detour to Chunlei's village. Zhang Yi turned the throttle and ran at full speed, enthusiastically saying, it was time to relax, and there was a soldier standing guard outside. It seems prepared. Zhang Yi wore the special uniform of Taesun base captains. He saw the star on Zhang Yi's outfit. The guard on duty thought in surprise. Could it be that the captain on the front line returned early? Zhang Yi calmly walked past the guard. After that, this guy immediately bowed to Zhang Yi. Hello, Captain. Zhang Yi quickly used one slash to kill the soldier. The guy's expression before returning to his ancestors was extremely calm, as if he didn't understand what was going on. Zhang Yi, with the shadow of death, turned cold eyes to look down at the body of the soldier who had just fallen down. Zhang Yi began to sweep everywhere in Chunlei's village. Each person, one by one, fell under Zhang Yi's sword of death. Just as he thrust his sword down at a person lying at his feet, Zhang Yi calmly counted, 24th person. All the security guards guarding the village died. Suddenly there were a lot of dogs barking continuously. Woof woof, woof woof. Some soldiers at the back inside the village, after discovering this, realized something unusual was going on inside the village. Inside the soldier's residence, a dog began barking continuously, the hair on its body standing up. A soldier spoke up. If necessary, go out and take a look. Immediately afterwards, all the soldiers present inside marched outside. Detecting a stranger, they all fired bullets at the target. The dogs also rushed up to attack Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi raised his hand in front of him to open the strange space. He sucked all the guns, bullets, and dogs into his supernatural power. After these soldiers had their weapons sucked away, they had nothing left in their hands. Zhang Yi took the opportunity to slash continuously to finish off all of these soldiers. There was no mercy in Zhang Yi's blade and expression. Lang Fong in the distance seemed like he had sensed something. Realizing that there were many gunshots ringing out in the village, Lang Fong immediately turned around and looked back, with a worried look on his face. What's happening? Some people were doing work when they heard gunshots ring out in their village. A guy discovers something unusual. He immediately stopped his work and spoke up worriedly. Why are there gunshots in the village? Another said with wonder. Or is someone setting off firecrackers? The person standing right behind him spoke up. How is that possible? When is this time? Are the villagers in a bored mood, and should they set off firecrackers at this time? Without hesitation, Lang Fong gave orders to his subordinates. Annie, let's go back to the village and see what's going on. After Zhang Yi finished dealing with all the soldiers guarding the village, he immediately welcomed Chunlei to his shelter base. As the two neared the emergency exit, Chunlei observed behind him. He asked Zhang Yi worriedly, Boss, when we get back here, the tire tracks left on the snow are so obvious, will this escape route be discovered? When stopping in front of the emergency exit, Zhang Yi opened the space to take the sled inside. Zhang Yi just replied, as long as the other party is not too stupid, they can definitely discover this place. But the day after those words, Zhang Yi looked down with a sinister smile. I wish they would get here soon. I never fight a battle unprepared. When Lang Fong and his teammates returned to the village, everything was too late. Seeing the corpses of his comrades lying on the ground made Lang Fong's blood boil. While observing everywhere, Lang Fong gritted his teeth. The guy with the ability to transform into a giant stood behind Lang Fong and asked, Captain, what should we do now? Lang Fong approached the corpses of his comrades, followed, observed and inspected. Lang Fong gritted his teeth in anger, clenched his fist and raised it in front of his face. He immediately commented, his attack this time was definitely planned. We have a traitor. The traitor has revealed our plans to the outside. Teammates standing behind Lang Fong, she said with a worried expression. We always have people monitoring the actions of the emergency department. We didn't see him go out. Maybe there is another way out? The teammate next to him punched his fists together and gritted his teeth. Sure enough, our base only has one exit. Zhang Yi cooperated with his secret agents. When he knows the time of our action, then he intentionally came here to attack. Lang Feng, after observing everywhere, immediately stood up to confirm. If that were the case, then our tunneling plan would have been completely exposed. A junior soldier, after receiving inspection orders from Lang Feng, the guy ran back and eagerly reported. Captain, when I checked the number of people, I discovered that the mutant named Chen Lei had disappeared. I also couldn't find his body. Liang, Captain Liang is also not on the team. Hearing reports from his subordinates made Lang Feng angry. Lang Feng immediately spoke up. There is more than one insider. The next day, Lang Feng ordered all remaining soldiers to immediately return to arrest Liang and Chen Lei. Lang Feng gave the order. We can still catch up now. We must definitely make them pay. Let's go quickly. Mr. Zhao stood behind and thought. Because I brought these people to the village, I caused many villagers to die. I am the village leader. Mr. Zhao said worriedly. Captain Lang Feng, tunneling. Lang Feng and his teammates did not pay any attention to Mr. Zhao's words. They walked away without concern. Mr. Zhao saw this, his face showed helplessness. He knelt down on the ice and snow. Or not. So many people died in the village. What should I tell everyone? The scene changes to Zhang Yi's hidden base. Right after Chen Lei was brought to this place by Zhang Yi. Understanding Chen Lei's preferences, Zhang Yi immediately instructed Yang Mi and Zhou Ke to arrange a room for Chen Lei alone. Zhang Yi then led Chen Lei into his private room. Chen Lei after entering the room. Chen Lei looked happy with his sparkling eyes looking around the room. Here there are many models and pillows too. Can I really be here? Zhang Yi saw that Chen Lei seemed to like the room he prepared. He immediately spoke up. Then you stay here. Tay Sun base will no longer pose a threat to us. Chen Lei seemed to really like the room Zhang Yi prepared for him. He was very happy and excited, rushing forward to hug the pillow. He blushed and said in an exclamatory tone, in the future, I vow to be a buffalo and a horse for Mr. Zhang Yi. Even if I have to die, I will accept it. After arranging everything for Chen Lei, Zhang Yi immediately returned to work. Immediately, Zhang Yi went down to the information room to check the situation. Seeing Xin Xin and Liang working, Zhang Yi immediately asked, how are you guys doing? Xin Xin immediately reported back after performing the operations. Fortunately, there was intelligence and equipment provided by Ms. Liang. Now the people sent here, they have been unable to contact the base. Xin Xin pointed towards the information screen. She commented, currently, we can launch a surprise attack at any time. I guarantee the collapse of the Tay Sun base's system. Zhang Yi approached the little girl. He patted Xin Xin's head and praised her, making her blush happily. Very good. If we can deal with this group of people with the strongest fighting power, temporarily, we will not have to face threats anymore. Then, Zhang Yi turned to Liang, placing his hand on her shoulder, he spoke. I will definitely keep my previous promise. But before that, she also has to try her best for her students. Suddenly, a notification appeared on the emergency exits camera screen. The group of Tay Sun base was led by Lang Feng. He discovered Zhang Yi's escape route. Zhang Yi observed the situation while chuckling. The guest of this great drama has arrived. Outside the emergency exit, Lang Feng began instructing his subordinates. Lang Feng said, the traces disappeared nearby. Quickly go find and check. Liang must have also run after Zhang Yi. Traitors deserve to die. Following Lang Feng's orders, all soldiers spread out in all directions to search for traces of Liang and Chen Lei. The giant metamorphosis guy said angrily. So many people died. I definitely have to pull that creature out of the turtle's shell. We must definitely find the tunnel to take the initiative to attack him. Suddenly, in the distance, a person wearing the uniform of a Tay Sun soldier appeared. Lang Feng's subordinate was the first to discover it. She immediately shouted loudly, he's over there. Zhang Yi and the cat were in harmony in the distance. Dai Vin seemed to have been suppressing his anger for a long time. He shouted loudly, Zhang Yi. Immediately after that, Dai Vin gritted his teeth, anger clouded his rational eyes. Without thinking, Dai Vin angrily rushed towards Zhang Yi. Right now he just wants to take Zhang Yi's life as soon as possible. Her teammates saw Dai Vin lose control. She was afraid her teammates might be in danger of falling into Zhang Yi's trap. She wanted to rush up to stop him, but she didn't have time. She had to shout loudly to warn Dai Vin. Dai Vin, don't be rash, come back. Dai Vin has the ability to transform into a gorilla and enhance his strength and muscles. After transforming into a beast, Dai Vin continuously used his own strength to rush forward to approach Zhang Yi. As he approached, he cursed Zhang Yi. You should die quickly. You bastard. Fuck you. In the distance, Zhang Yi carefully calculated the plan. In order for the plan to succeed, he lured Dai Vin to the area where he had set the trap. Zhang Yi continuously used a sniper rifle to attack Dai Vin. Dai Vin, using his strength and speed, dodged the bullets while continuing to climb up to approach Zhang Yi. Dai Vin's anger did not seem to have cooled down. As he climbed up, he said in an angry voice, I must kill you. Blood debt to pay with blood. But it was all in Zhang Yi's calculations. When Dai Vin just grabbed an ice block right below Zhang Yi's feet, Zhang Yi did not hesitate to use his foot to activate the trap he had installed in this place. A very loud explosion rang out. All the ice and snow in front of Zhang Yi's place exploded. Zhang Yi calmly held a sniper rifle. He stood still and witnessed this scene. Captain Nam Dang saw her teammates in danger. Her face was filled with worry and she shouted loudly, "Dive in!" Dive in stood before the explosion in front of him. All the ice, snow and traps rushed towards Dive in. He didn't have time to do anything. He stood still and suffered a huge layer of ice and snow. The captain and Lang Fong were both worried about Dive in's situation. They immediately rushed forward, but before they could reach the place to support their teammates, Liang and Hoa Hoa quickly rushed in front of them. Lang Fong stopped. He saw Liang in front and immediately spoke up. "Liang, you betrayed the base and surrendered to the plotter. Do you know what the consequences will be?" Hua Hua is behind Liang. Hoa Hoa constantly bared her fangs and looked towards the Tae-sun soldiers. Liang stood proudly holding his sword. She replied to Lang Fong with a stern expression. "We don't have the same mindset, so we can't go on the same path. I have nothing to say to you." Without hesitation, Liang rushed up. She swung her sword with deadly moves. On this side, Hoa Hoa was very smart. Hoa Hoa immediately used her own strength to throw a block of ice towards the Tae-sun soldiers. The captain didn't have time to react. She agreed to use her whole body to block the rock. The soldiers behind saw their captain in danger and shouted loudly, "Captain Dang!" With the weight of the ice, Hoa Hoa rushed forward and used her claws to continuously scratch towards the Captain Dang. She is using her strength to block the ice. Unable to do anything else, this girl absorbed the full weight of the ice and the attack power of Hoa Hoa. The ice broke. Hoa Hoa directly attacked her body. She couldn't stand it. Immediately she spat chili sauce and tomato sauce out of her mouth. Her eyes turned white. She passed away. Awareness. It seemed that Lang Fong discovered something bad. He immediately turned to look at his teammate who had just laid down. Lang Fong was caught off guard. Liang immediately took the opportunity to rush forward and slash his sword towards Lang Fong. Behind Liang, where the explosion had just buried Dive in, the trap that Zhang Yi set up detonated. A loud explosion rang out. Lang Fong looked towards his teammate with a worried expression. Dive in guy lay down. His body was pierced by many iron bars. With a heartless expression, Dive in looked back at Captain Lang Fong. He denied the last words. "Captain." With his body pierced by Zhang Yi's trap, Dive in could not move. At this time, Zhang Yi aimed and shot at Dive in's head. A bullet passed through Dive in's head, ending his life. After finishing dealing with the mutant Dive in, Zhang Yi loudly signaled Chen Lei. "Fat, it's your turn to act." In the distance, Chen Lei appeared standing behind the Tae-sun soldiers. Before being besieged by Hoa Hoa and Liang, after Liang, there was Chen Lei. Then he can only run to the land of bliss. Chen Lei received orders from Zhang Yi. He happily replied. Clearly, Chen Lei used his supernatural powers to control ice and snow on both sides of the Tae-sun soldiers. He wants to bury the lives of all these people here. Seeing that Chen Lei had taken action, Liang jumped onto Hoa Hoa's back. She quickly escaped from this place. Lang Fong discovered that Liang was trying to escape. He immediately looked after and shouted in despair, "Liang!" Liang and Hoa Hoa quickly ran to Chen Lei. Seeing that, Chen Lei quickly grabbed Liang's hand, and together they ran away from here. Lang Fong turned to look at the two traitors, Liang and Chen Lei. He gritted his teeth with a helpless look. Seeing that Zhang Yi still hadn't left this place, Lang Fong and the soldiers slowly approached Zhang Yi. Lang Fong spoke up. "You wouldn't think that these trivial things could lock us up, would you?" Zhang Yi. Everything is in Zhang Yi's arrangement. Zhang Yi gracefully walked to the cliff. He looked down at these guys with a calm expression. Of course not. Zhang Yi turned sinister eyes towards Lang Fong and his accomplices. Zhang Yi raised his hand forward to activate the other dimension. Zhang Yi raised his hand to activate and said with a smile, "I took the trouble to lure you all here, so I can't just have you playing games like this for children." Lang Fong and his accomplices stood below, bewildered by Zhang Yi's actions. Zhang Yi smiled and said. He quickly opened a strange space and dropped TNT explosives in the direction of Lang Fong and the Tae-sun soldiers. After flying close to the area of the Tae-sun soldiers, the TNT explosive exploded. Seeing that, Lang Fong immediately held his head and quickly escaped the explosion area. He shouted loudly to warn everyone. Everyone quickly covered the snow. The area where the explosion just occurred with its current temperature, smoke and explosion residue quickly dissipated. As soon as the explosion passed, the surviving soldiers began to emerge from the snow. Lang Fong floated out of the snow and began to pant. He kept coughing. What is he trying to do? There was a loud noise. Boom. Boom. The senior guy looked ahead and stammered in panic, saying, "Captain, it's not okay." Lang Fong stood up and looked straight ahead. He was bewildered and sweating. An avalanche was moving towards the Tae-sun soldiers. Lang Fong was bewildered and shouted loudly. It was an avalanche. Zhang Yi, up above, enjoyed the success of his plan, took out his phone and talked. "Thank you both. If it weren't for the two people helping me, I wouldn't have been able to deal with these people so quickly. Changing the scene to previous time, Zhang Yi is in the information room discussing a plan with Xin Xin. Zhang Yi looked at the screen and said, Xin Xin uses computer modeling to calculate specific locations that can cause avalanches. Otherwise, explosives will be difficult to use. Xin Xin happily replied, this is the result of everyone's joint efforts. Zhang Yi's plan to lure these people into a trap was truly brilliant. Returning to the current scene, Zhang Yi added, they are too stupid and too greedy. They just thought I was a stupid daredevil. But they don't know that they are the lambs waiting to be slaughtered by me. Liang, Chenlei and Huahua also returned to Zhang Yi's rear. Hoa Hoa has killer eyes, ha ha ha. Zhang Yi happily observed the soldiers lying dead below. Thanks to the cooperation of two people, Liang and Chenlei, we were able to win this victory. Young man Chenlei seems to have overused his powers. He said wearily, Mr. Zhang, I'm so tired, let's go back. Liang seemed calmer. She observed below for a while. She commented, I think it's better to confirm whether they're really dead or not. If we really have to face Lang Fong again, I think it's very difficult to guarantee that we can escape unscathed. Looking down below, I don't understand why the author drew the image of Lang Fong lying dead happily like this, it looks quite funny. Zhang Yi's face was refreshed, he laughed loudly and said, do not worry. Infrared robots made of flammable materials were created by Kanin, and they will die in about 10 minutes. We can slowly enjoy watching the entire process of them slowly freezing to death. After checking and observing the situation carefully, Zhang Yi, Liang and Chenlei returned to the villa together to celebrate. Everyone in the house is happily gathering together to celebrate the victory. Many delicious dishes were presented, pizza, chicken, cake, hamburgers, blah, blah. But there's one thing I'm quite confused about. Zhang Yi and the other girls were all happily sitting on the sofa. Why did they let Chenlei kneel on the ground? Or does the author hate Chenlei? Look at him kneeling while eating but still very happy, looking so pitiful. Zhang Yi suddenly observed everyone here and secretly smiled. While he was lost in thought, Joka suddenly came closer and placed his cheek on Zhang Yi's shoulder and whispered, it's finally over. Zhang Yi calmly enjoyed the wine and said, that's right, after we destroy the people with the strongest abilities in the Tay Sun base, along with the virus planted by Xin Xin inside the Tay Sun base, sooner or later this story will be revealed to the lowest ranks. At that time we will not need to intervene, the Tay Sun base will eventually lead to self-destruction. Joko raised his sparkling eyes to look at Zhang Yi. So many things happened in just a few months, I'm still really surprised. Zhang Yi calmly explained. The world is always changing. In the past, there was a meteor disaster that claimed the lives of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs once ruled the earth. The current leveling is just an evolutionary process in a long history. Zhang Yi turned around. He got close to Joko, making her blush. Zhang Yi silently said, you should feel lucky to be one of the few people still alive, right? Joko blushed, her cheeks blushing and shyly replied, yes. Immediately after that, without hesitating those around them, Zhang Yi and Joko lovingly locked lips. The two continuously exchanged greasy lumps of phlegm, including the COVID virus and influenza A.